Well, hey, how y'all doing out there today? Listen, I think we need to explain and talk more about our past, especially our past here in America. So I'm going to try to keep this to basically North America and what's going on in here with commercial farming, even our beef farming and other things that have kind of became consumer oriented and crazy. But just to say it right off the bat, y'all, agricultural uh, development for masses of people has been the ruin of just about every successful empire out there. The Roman Empire, when there was only about 50 million people, literally starved to death because of what this does. It completely changes ecosystems. It does the most unnatural things. But I'm just going to use America. We're just going to talk about America. And we're going to go back to 100 years ago, maybe just a little bit under 100 years ago, where for about 10 years in a row, we started mass farming at our Midwest, our Great Plains, all the way from the Canadian Plains all the way down through it, Nebraska, Iowa, large patches of Ohio, everything else. A lot of deforestation, of course, but really mostly was they turned everything up and planted in certain areas, but didn't allow the natural grasses, the natural things that grew there, the things for the insects to pollinate, the things that replenish the soil, just what you might call weeds, whatever. They dug it all up too, and with one small drought that these the normal natural flora and fauna around there, if they were there to take care of it instead of these mass farms, that drought wouldn't have been when that bad. They had, I believe it was 14 dust storms in 1932 or 1933, and 32 the very next year that completely covered this area. It devastated it. It was poor farming practices. It was not paying attention. You had a good idea. You wanted to feed literally millions of people. And what you do, you starved them and you scarred the planet and you killed other species around you. Well, here and after the Dust Bowl, look what came, the Great Depression. So I believe 6,500 people died just because of the Dust Bowl in the very first year of the Dust Bowl, and it was a long period. The hundreds of thousands of people that migrated to cities and the millions of people that went homeless. The population wasn't that much at that time, y'all. It was nowhere near what it is today. Well, there were no jobs there either because of the Great Depression and economic collapse. A period of living high on the hog, the roaring 20s, and everything was great. And boom, in 1 year, it's all gone. In one instant, the money's gone. Over the next 4 or 5 years, the crops are gone. The food is gone. This just happened 100 years ago. Here we are, less than 100 years ago, actually, for the Great Depression. That's like 80, 90 years ago, 85, 90 years ago, y'all. You need to really look at this part of our history. My grandmother lived through this, by the way. She lived through a period where the weather and poor farming practices devastated our food supply. Everybody was hungry. There was an economic collapse. And she actually became a better person almost to her dying day. She always had a garden. She was always looking out, making sure everybody was having something to eat. She always had cheese in the refrigerator because they didn't have cheese back there at that time. And stronger people came out of it. And here we are we're living in another roaring 20s, and everybody's doing what they want, and everything's on the rise, and overconsumer and gluttony, and now bad weather. Because now look 90 years later, y'all. Look 90 years later, we have ruined commercial farming with GMOs. The people doing your farming nowadays got to wear a zoot suit just to feed the damn food. We have poor farming practices. Once again, we didn't get no better. We didn't learn from the Dust Bowl. We didn't learn not to dig it all up and be ready for what the mother throws at us. No, this time we dug it all up. We kept replanting, and we kept using chemicals to make our plants grow. We built all these levees to hold some water in case there was another drought, never thinking that if those levees broke and all this system collapsed, that you would just make one big giant pond or lake out of the Midwest. We did it. The food's not even natural because the soil is dead. We didn't replenish it with hemp. We killed all the insects that we need to live, y'all. I don't care if you're scared of bugs. I don't care. No bugs, no life for us, y'all. You get it? They killed all these things when the natural predators for these was butterflies and ladybugs, right? And you think, oh, well, they didn't want them butterflies and ladybugs. Well, they don't eat your plants. They eat the things on your plants. So instead of mankind so smart, well, hey, and greedy, instead of wasting one row per every 10 to 20 rows of your crop, for butterfly weed, for things that attract the butterflies and the ladybugs that eat the other bugs and mites that eat your plants, that you had to put pesticides on and chemical out the land. I mean, come on. They could have just done that, but no, that wasn't good enough. Or they wanted to demonize hemp in 1937 after the Dust Bowl. This is something that worried me. When they went back to rework that soil, when they went back to turn it into farmland, hemp is an in-between crop that puts all the nutrients back into the soil naturally, y'all. Look it up. You would never need to put the man-made stuff in there, the CO2, all that stuff all the crap that they put in there. Just grow a crop of hemp in between your corn, in between your soybean, in between your GMO crops. But see, nothing grows natural anymore in these commercial mega farms. They've even tested, if you want to, you can check it out for yourself. Get on Google Earth and look up Kipton, Ohio, and punch in green circle growers. And you're going to be amazed at what we can do as a species trying to feed ourselves. There are literally dozens and dozens of these super giant greenhouses that grow food. And this is the future of your farming because of our poor practices and because of what's going on with the weather and us not being prepared for it. Like I said, we're so busy worrying about ourselves and how to do things better for the planet. And really, y'all, the sad thing is, I know a lot of intentions are good, but what's that old saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, most of the thing that mankind tries to do for the masses, we should have been doing ourselves. It's really not so much that they were trying to do it for the masses and feed the world, y'all. There's a lot of money in that. And there's a lot of fat cats that don't think about nothing green but money. They don't care about their wheat. They don't care about their corn. They care about their stockholders meeting and their quarterly statement. That's all they ever cared about with mass farming, with commercial farming. And now about 98% of all the farms are owned by commercial businesses. Only about 2% are family-owned farms. Now, I just want you to think about this for a minute. Let's go back again 80 years. Back then, only 2% of the farms were commercial farms, and 98% of the people or the farms were owned by the people, by the farmer. Yet 2 million homeless people because of this. 300,000 people left the food belt to go to then where the Dust Bowl was, to go to cities where they couldn't even find jobs because of the economy. The suicide rate was the highest it ever was in the United States history. Death and starvation was everywhere, y'all. And here it is, the same thing 80 years later. And it's right here in our face. We can't, are we going to, I mean, it's too late to say, oh yeah, I guess we should have thought about those levees. Maybe we shouldn't have built all those levees, the water thing. Maybe we should, maybe this, maybe that, maybe nothing. It's flooded. They're not going to grow this year. No matter what, this summer and this fall and this harvest is going to be slim pickings. That's putting it mildly. A bowl of grits is going to seem like a night out on the town for too long. And I'm not putting that out there as fear. I'm putting it out there as knowledge, because you can completely change this in your life. And we've talked about this before. It don't matter whether you're in the city. It don't matter where you're at. If you're in a city or something, you can get, and everybody can pretty much get a ride. And if you can't, then good God forbid. I hope the dollar store is good to you. But at least if you can't grow your own, support the locals that do. You see the roadside stands all the time. Some of them just leave the box out there and you pick what you want. And it's a trust thing. They're just trying to feed you. But now I don't think they're going to be able to do that no more. I think all these little roadside stands and stuff are going to become a high source of very good food that you need. We need to rely back on the small community farm. Yes, that's cool. But work it in with your ecosystem. Work it in with all the other fauna and flora around there, because mankind, in his brilliance, all these people before y'all didn't think about the little things, like the insects, like pollination, like what does what, like what these chemicals were going to do to our children and make these weird shaped babies. All this crap that they've done I don't believe that they got into it not knowing, but when they found out they was already making so much money, these people get so rich they can just keep slinging their same old bad ideas out there at y'all. It's still bad ideas. So when this depression comes and this new ecological catastrophe in our Midwest takes its toll on this nation, as things fall down around us, when we build back up like we did, we can't stop that. That's all I wanted to say about that. We can't stop it. It's here. We're already wiping out species. Y'all never thought about the domino effect. We talked about this, so I don't want to get into that. That part of life's over. We got to evolve with a change. But here's the thing. Like my grandmother that had a garden and always had a block of cheese in the refrigerator because she didn't get dead cheese. She was born in an orphanage and she lived through the Great Depressions, went through it in her 20s. That made her a stronger person, and she was a more giving and caring person. Her whole life, she never did anything but teach, grow gardens, and feed people. That makes a better way. She also learned how to do things for herself and what real struggle and real survival is all about. So when this collapse happens and this period where food gets outrageous and just bad things, I hope they don't, y'all, but whatever happens, happens. Maybe it will spawn and birth a new group of us that will teach life again, will teach self-sustaining life again, that growing something is life. It helps you grow anyway. It feels good to do it, and it fills up your belly and your body with everything that you need to coexist with this planet anyway. We'll learn. You don't have to have mass farms. You can just have farms that match the number of people that are around it. Um, the greed from it is the problem, y'all. It was never so much. I mean, yeah, the farming practices sucked. I mean, but they were farmed that way out of greed. There's been a lot of studies that were done, and the people that own the farms neglected it anyway. They saw where they could pay more money, or if one of their GMO crops failed and some chemical didn't work, they could get subsidies for it and make billions of dollars off of it, or millions of dollars off of it at least, by just crashing crops and killing crops, experimenting, trying to find unnatural ways of growing and feeding ourselves. Well, none of this worked, y'all. It ain't worked for 100 years. Why do you think it's going to keep working? Are we really that stupid, or are we really just that afraid that we can't do it on our own, that without that grocery store or without that dollar store or without somebody down the street that knows how to do this, that, it's all very easy, and it will come natural to you anyway. Those that y'all that say you don't have a green thumb, I just don't believe that. I think every living being understands life deep down inside themselves, and growing something, whether you grow it from a seed or a clone, or no matter how you grow something, that's life. You're dealing with life. So if you're alive, and you can you can be alive with other things. There's purpose in this. There's reason for this. There's a reason to pay attention to all the little things and the little species dying out. Some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life is somebody's like, well, so what if there ain't no monarch butterflies over there? What does that mean? Well, that means that those crops that are anywhere near that are going to be swamped out completely by mites. That the farmer's going to have to put more chemicals on your food that make you dumber, where you make more statements like, why do we need this and why do we need that? It's all in a balance. Most of you will never even begin to understand. You want to know why I say that? Because I don't. Science can say what they want. Men can go out there in the field and say what they want. Until you stand on this planet, in this universe, and watch life actually live around you and try to connect with that, you'll never understand how one life connects to another, to another, to another, to another. Us humans are a small, minuscule part of that, y'all. And we're the ones just fucking it up for everybody else. When I say everybody else, I should just say everything else that's alive. And we thought we were doing good, and we thought we were eating organic, and we thought we were. No, I think we think too much on some things. So we got to get back simple. If you got any kind of a yard, grow your garden. Get started. Box gardens. You don't got to dig up your soil. Nail 4 boards together and you got a box. Pour some potting soil in it and get going. I am going to put a sense of urgency on it, in the sense that growing things does not happen overnight. So if you're thinking, oh man, well the summer's bad, I'll grow something. I got some seeds in my bug out bag. You got some seeds in your bug out bag. They're gonna probably help you out when the season comes up to grow them seeds, and by the time those seeds grow. Well, you got to have some food. You can go a long time without food, but you can't go 6 months. All right. So be ready now. And if for nothing else, if nothing ever happened, you grew something, you worked on your own inner peace, you connected with your planet, you're living the life cycle the way it's supposed to be, and you save money anyway. But that money, y'all, you can make it as green as you want. You ain't ever gonna be able to eat it. It ain't really that good to start a fire with either. So I don't know what to tell you about it. The things that have already happened in our country are identical to what's happening right now. A crazy time where everybody was just acting up and doing what they wanted. The roaring 20s ended in a financial collapse based over lies, based over even the rumors of war, based over, just like I said, the greed of other men. But at the same time, a natural catastrophe happened, and this one is worse than that one. That's what they don't like to tell you on the TV. This one is unprecedented, y'all. 67% of our field-to-mouth food, bye-bye. 42% of the food that we get, fresh food that comes, is fixing to be stopped from coming in Mexico, and they just put tariffs on all that food. No matter what, you're going to pay for it. Rich people get rich off tariffs, by the way. I don't know if you ever stopped and thought about that. It's just wealth distribution amongst the super rich. So do what you can for your own family right now and your community. I love the idea of going door to door and asking. Now, all these people are all fenced in, as you can see. That, y'all, this cracks me up. Suburbia America just cracks me up. Everybody's got their little box, but you can still go to the front door that don't have a fence and knock on that front door and say, hey, I'm your brother next door. And I don't care if I grow a few rows of this or that or other in the yard, we'll split it out. You get 4 or 5 people in the neighborhood to do that, and you almost have enough food right there to sustain a decent sized neighborhood. You could just do it for yourself. It doesn't matter. You really need to do it. It's really time to think about this. Look at the indicators. Look at what's already happened. Look at the fact that we're not planting food here in America. That alone should really shock you. We're not planting commercial food right now. And they're getting what I heard is going to wind up being in the $5 to $6 trillion worth of subsidies for the weather wars that happened on them, for the natural occurrence. Yet you can't get insurance money after FEMA, can you, for your house? You can't get insurance money when your little bit of land's devastated. So these fat cats are just making money off of our death. Off our death. We ain't got nothing to come back on it, the food wise. So, and there'll be plenty of food now, don't get me wrong. I mean, come on. We got China sending over dollar store food every day, y'all. There's ships out there that bring in the biggest nets of fish you ever seen. They can it right on the ship because it's all damn illegal. So they found ways around the loopholes. But you like eating out of a can. I don't know about that. You processed food at the dollar store, is that going to sustain your health, your life? Those of y'all that are already diabetics or needing to eat healthy or just want to be a healthy person, but you're relying on a grocery store to get your food and your nutrition. You can't eat like that, and you shouldn't be eating like that anyway. And if you do, it should just be once in a while. I mean, y'all really need to pay attention to that right now. It's a good time to store water. It's a good time to store dry beans, but it always is. I want to point that out so this don't sound like fear. But right now, I want you to look at how some of our behavior as civilized man just constantly repeats itself about the time you forget about it. Did you ever stop and think about that? As soon as we forget about something, y'all, they do it right to us again. So a lot of these cycles are on 40 and 80 and 120-year cycles with the not the natural cycles. I'm talking about with the banking cycles, money, war. But yeah, look, there's been twice where they've messed around with the way that we barter with each other, the money, and Mother Nature devastated our crops because we didn't pay attention to what we was doing, and then we repeated it. And are we gonna pay attention next time? That's up to y'all. If things fall apart, and I was lucky enough to, or unlucky enough, whatever you want to call it, to get through some period of time, I would definitely teach that civilizations, city, the natural exchange of weight from the ocean to the land, and mass farming and beef and agriculture will kill you in the long run. Because let me tell you something about that agricultural thing that y'all don't really might not want to believe or pay attention to. When you start growing food for the masses, it takes people to grow that food. Y'all, it's almost like growing people. I don't know how to put it, but the more food there is, the more of us. We need to keep our food and our species to a coexisting level on this planet. I am not the one to decide that. You are not the one to decide that. We need to focus on getting through this cycle right now. When we rebuild again, that's when we'll be talking about this, y'all. And it probably ain't gonna be on the internet. So I just want to put the thought in your mind right now. You know, commercial farming has been the death of us a couple times. It does not coexist with the planet, and it controls the people because all the food winds up being owned by the man. So think about that. I love y'all. Be really now serious. On serious note, there are amazing things going on right now, but that don't mean that they're going to benefit you or it's not going to hurt. Y'all, this coming up is probably going to leave a mark. And it's going to be rough, but it's survivable, like I said. And even better, stronger people will come out of it, like my grandmother Jackson. So she survived it. And she came out a person that helped, fed, and taught others and still coexisted with the earth. And was still a good Christian lady. Like you wouldn't believe, in a good friend and a good mother and grandmother. So good things will come of it. But get ready. I don't want to see none of you hungry. That's for sure. I love y'all. Peace, and by all means, don't live in fear.